fellow Michigan Wolverine, the 8th overall pick of the 2000 NBA draft, 21-year veteran, 21-season veteran, 20-year veteran, and 3-time sixth man of the year, Jamal Crawford from the world of Turner Sports, joining us here on the Rich Eisen Show. How you doing, Jamal?
I'm great. How you doing, Rich?
I'm doing great. How did you wind up at Michigan, Jamal? How did that happen back in the day?
The Fab Five had me in 8th grade, so I think Michigan had me before they knew it. I wanted to go there for so long, and I was the kid who was like, if I 3, 2, 1, if I make this shot, I'm going to Michigan. And it would go in. I'm like, how is this really going to happen? So when I went there on my visit, they already had me. And once they promised me Jalen Rose's locker, it was a done deal.
Wow. So hold on a second. That was promised to you? You get Jalen Rose's locker if you come here? That happened?
Yes. They knew how much I loved Jalen, and they said, this is the locker you used to have. I said, is it? They say, if you come, you can have that locker. I said, oh, it's over with. That's it. I'm signing that. So that was the seal the deal moment for me.
So they had you at hello with their play and their swag and their shorts and the way that they were dominant, but sealed the deal with the actual locker is what you're saying.
Exactly. Yeah, the Barclays and the ball heads and just all that swagger. And then when the locker came, I said, okay, I don't need to see anything else. This is it for me.
All right, Jamal Crawford here, and you're doing just so well in media. It's great to see how terrific you're doing. I love listening to you. I love watching you. So I'm thrilled to have you on as my guest here today after an NBA Finals game. Is there a comparison for Jokic in your estimation, Jamal?
Yeah, if you put like a gumbo mix of 3 or 4 of the best players ever together, let's put some Magic, let's throw a little bit of Bird in there, throw some Dirk, and let's end it with Tim Duncan. And you mix that up and you get the Joker. He's something different, Rich, because a guy that's not trying to score is averaging over 30 points. Like, scoring doesn't excite him. It really doesn't. If he can get 10 points and 15 rebounds and 20 assists, that's like his perfect game for him. He's playing for perfection basketball every single time out. And it's some people are willing passers. Some people get a joy to pass. It makes him truly happy to his soul to see his guys successful, and that's why he's so different than everybody else.
And that's why, putting him at the top of the three-point arc with the basketball in his hand. I mean, Michael Malone must just, get the knife and fork ready and stick the napkin into his button-down shirt, man. I mean, like he there's so many options with him because of that, Jamal.
Yes, and he's playing chess. Like, he's really 2 or 3 steps ahead of everybody else. Think about this. The guys I said, with the exception of Magic, of those other 3, they're thinking score first, attack, then draw the help, draw the double team. I'll make the play out of that. He's working a totally different way, and that's why he's so unique. He's working in the way of, let me get these guys going, and then when I score, I'll fall into 30 points even though I don't want to score. Brother, it doesn't make me happy, but I'll do that too, and I'll just pick you guys apart. And he's laughing. He's happy. They asked him last night how it felt to be the first player in history to have that kind of stat line in the finals. And he's like, whatever. Like, we won. That's all that matters to him. And what I'm hoping is that these 2 teams in particular are helping bring back team basketball. Because it's more than what's in your bag, right? It's more than just individualized scoring. They play together, they play the right way, and I'm hoping that's being pushed out as well to see for kids coming up.
Jamal, I was saying that just yesterday. Jamal Crawford here on the Rich Eisen Show. I was just saying yesterday that because the other piece of news that's out there from this week is Kyrie reportedly calling up LeBron saying, let's create a super team with Luka here in Dallas. And, forget about the reality of that being able to happen. But my thought was like, you know what? I'm watching some team basketball in these finals here. I'm watching, yes, there's a superstar in Jokic and a budding one in Murray, although his stat line screams superstar, and obviously Himmy Butler and Bam Adebayo is coming into his own. But all that, as you just pointed out, I'm wondering, do you think we've passed the super team era in the NBA, or we are passing it right now, Jamal?
I'm not sure, but like I know, Rich, this is a copycat league, and I'm hoping those 2 things come out of it. Think about this whole season. We were all saying, who's the second best player for the Nuggets? Do they have one? Is Aaron Gordon the all-star? And the fact that we were kind of trying to figure that out, and these guys are right here, they've been dominant since day one pretty much, and then you have the Heat, who've been 2 of the last 4 finals, right? And they're just kind of not sneaking in the back door, but they're doing it so quietly with their culture and the way they do things. I'm hoping that that's the copycat part of this. You know what? We can figure it out what we have. We don't need to do all that. We can play good basketball as a team where nobody cares about who's getting the credit, but the team is getting the credit. Because I coach kids, and that's what I try to preach, right? It's not like I coach AAU, and that's one of the more individualized things ever, right? And I'm trying to bring that team aspect, and I'm making my kids watch this series in particular to show there's something bigger than just what you bring to the table. So I'm hoping that happens in the league, and the copycat part of it is, you know what? We don't need to all form together. Let's stay where we're at and figure it out.
Jamal Crawford here from the NBA on TNT, right here on the Rich Eisen Show. So here we are again after a Nuggets win in the finals, basically thinking it's over and the Heat have no shot. But Game 2 did exist. It did happen. We did see it, and they did pull it off. So what now for Miami, in your estimation?
Well, coming into it, I thought Denver would win this game, and I thought Miami would win Game 4. And I believe that because they're not that great when they're out in front, and everybody says how great they are. They love being the underdog. That's kind of been their mantra. They've relied on that. They feel comfortable in that space when their backs are against the wall. So I think they'll come out and put on a heck of a performance in Game 4. But then I just think Denver ends up winning the series ultimately because Denver is a higher level of Miami. They do the same things, but Denver does it at a higher level. So I think when it all plays out, Denver ends up winning the championship.
Okay, so now let's move on to some other topics of discussion here. What advice would you give Ja Morant if you had an avenue to give it to him? Unless you have, I don't know, but I'll just throw that out there for you.
Yeah, I think the word I always look at when things happen is accountability. And I think you have to look in the mirror. And I always say there's two people you can't lie to, yourself and God, right? So I think you have to have one of those meetings with yourself first and foremost. Because you can say the right things and you can do some of the right things, but if your heart's not all the way in it to do those right things, the same things that got you in this position will happen again, right? So I would start there, and then I would look at, some of the people in your circle, some of the people that you're around, and just get solid advice, get solid things. Like there's so many kids that look up to all of us athletes, right? And especially Ja right now because he's one of the kids' favorites. But there's a certain responsibility that comes with being in this position, and that's to be upheld at all times. Go back to the kid and mentally go back to the kid where you were just dreaming about being in this position. Right, and now you're here. We have to do things the right way and take full advantage of it in the right way.
And I think we're going to find out something highly disturbing after the finals. I know I'm not going on a very thin limb here based on what Adam Silver had to say, Jamal. But I'm genuinely concerned. I mean, Stephen A. came on and said it put those in the know or in the NBA are concerned he's going to be alive in 5 years. It's more than just a cautionary tale. That's what he said.
Right.
To me.
Yeah, and that part there is like it's so layered, right? It's so deep because it's like, yeah, basketball is one thing, but let's look at the off the court stuff of getting yourself together because, like I said, he seems like a really really good kid from what I know about him, or a young man. I don't want to call him a kid, a really good young man.
Yes.
And then his last 2 years happened, right? And he was the same person, Rich, when I was in the bubble, and I played. That was my last time, but he was the same guy. Remember people were making complaints, all the food here, the beds. He was like, no, we have food to eat. The beds are fine. I have no complaints. I'm happy to be here. So that guy is there. We just have to bring him back to the forefront.
Is that what really? That's that. There was some pushback about why are we here, and he was just being a leader about let's be fortunate about what we have in this crazy mixed up world. Is that what you were saying?
Absolutely. Huh. Absolutely.
Man. I got Jamal Crawford here on the Rich Eisen Show. And then next will be the NBA draft. And for me, obviously the conversation about Wembanyama and the Spurs and what have you is going to be of interest. But really, it's what happens third overall, who the Hornets are going to take, who does that leave on the board for the Blazers, and what does it mean for Damian Lillard's future? What do you think is going to happen with the Blazers here?
Well, I know in Dame – they have to – he's not at a point in his career where he's like, you know what, this is a rebuild. He's just past that. He's done that, right? Mm-hmm. When he's graduated to now, I'm trying to compete for championships. I want to do it the right way, but you got to get some serious help around me, some veteran guys. So if that's what I believe is the conversation, just me looking from a distance, I would say maybe that pick is traded. Maybe they bring in somebody who's ready right now, who they all believe can help take them to that next level because – if I'm a superstar and, I'm in my 30s, I'm not looking for a rebuild. Yeah, I've done that. I've mentored. I've helped Simons. I've helped all these young guys get from point A to point B. But now, my legacy's on the line, and I put in a lot of time to put myself in this team in position to win championships, and that's what I'm trying to do.
Well, it strikes me that if the Blazers use the pick, then the clock strikes midnight, and my phone, if I'm a general manager of a team in the NBA, say based in the Northeast Corridor, I am placing phone calls to the Portland Trail Blazers on the spot to talk about whatever deals might be in the making immediately.
No doubt about it. You've shown in that Northeast Corridor that you can compete with the highest level, but there's still something missing, and I think what's missing is that presence of maturity in the locker room, that presence of know-how, that there's a moment of truth in every single game where the game can go from one part to the other, right? And I think that's the first place I'm calling if that's what's available for that pick.
Where do you think he should go, Jamal, if you were counseling him?
If it was his pick and he was a free agent, like the perfect fit for him?
Yeah.
Could you imagine him in Miami?
I think
right,
he
can.
I think he just said on a podcast recently, I don't know if he was referring to he would prefer to live there just because of the lifestyle or the tax-free part of it. I don't know if that was what he was referring to, but him there, right? Him with Butler, two-man game, that sort of thing. I don't know, right? With Bam.
Absolutely, because Butler especially is one of those guys who is comfortable being robbed throughout games. Don't forget, he was a JUCO guy. Like, he does the dirty work stuff. He's comfortable with, take it over. I'll fill in when necessary, and if I need to take over, I will. So I think him in Miami or Boston, just eye test looking, if you just dropped him in those two places, I think he would fit best.
Last one for you, Jamal. The best player you ever played with is?
Rich, are we going, like, in their prime while I played with them or just who they were?
Okay. Let's go in their prime and then who they were. So I get two answers from you. I got two bites at this apple, Jamal.
All right. If I played with Penny Hardaway in his prime, I feel like that would have been the best player.
Okay.
Or Grant Hill. Are those two? Like, can they share a spot?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
This is Sports Talk Radio, and I'm making up the rules. Why not?
Hey, why can't you? Those two, I think, in their prime would have been the very best to play with. And the person I played with in his prime, I would say
Man, you had a
Chris
lot.
Paul. Chris Paul.
Looks like he's going to have his choice.
Griffin, I'm getting out of here.
Yeah, looks like he's about to have his choice of where to go. Looks like Phoenix is going to set him loose. That's what it looks like right now.
And imagine that, right? Who thought that would be the case going forward? But that's a Hall of Fame point guard that can fit in a lot of different places if he's not going back to Phoenix, which he doesn't look like he is. But if he's not, I'm sure his phone will be ringing as well.
And what do you think? Do you talk to Juwan in Ann Arbor at all?
Yes, absolutely.
What can you tell me about the state of the program in your estimation then?
I think he's solid there. I believe, his eyes are only on the Wolverines.
Okay.
I think, obviously, it wasn't the year this last year that it was the year before, but I feel like they'll get it back. And I have a total faith and belief in Juwan, him as a leader of men, young men, and as a coach. So I think it'll work out.
All he's got to do is just get a recruit there and say, this is Jalen and Jamal's locker, and it's sold, right?
That's all he has to say. You know what? It may seal the deal for them as well.
Thanks for the call, Jamal Crawford. Really appreciate this immensely, and I hope this is the first of many times to get to chit-chat with you. Appreciate
Rich,
it.
I'm a huge fan, and what you said earlier meant the world. So you're a legend, and I really, really appreciate you having me.
I mean it. Thank you for those years at Michigan and what you're doing right now. It's great to see you. I turn the volume up when you talk, which is always a good thing.
Rich, can I thank Jamal for the 5 years he spent as an LA Clipper, because he brought me so much joy. And if you ever heard a bunch of goofballs just screaming buckets after every time he scored, that was me and my crew.
Did you hear that?
I appreciate that. Thank you. That was so much fun to play there. Thank you so much.
Did you hear TJ scream buckets at you?
I heard buckets a couple times. I
every
didn't play
time,
it at the moment, but I may have confirmation now.
Jamal, thanks again. Good luck to your AAU team, and let's do this more often. Thanks again.
Let's do it, Rich. Thank you. Appreciate it.
You got it. That is Jamal Crawford, everybody. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.